If you ask someone what Hinduism is, you'll probably get a lot of different answers.
Oh, for sure. They might talk about the temples or all the different gods and goddesses.
Right? Or maybe the really complex rituals. But the real depth of it goes so far beyond that.
It really does. And what's fascinating, I think, is that to even begin to understand it, you have to kind of shift your whole perspective.
How so?
Well, it's often seen less as a religion with a single, rigid set of rules and more as a philosophical scope, a way of life.
A way of life.
In fact, the term many people prefer isn't Hinduism at all. That was a label given from the outside. They use Sanatana Dharma.
The eternal religion, or the eternal way.
Exactly. And that framing, the eternal way, it just immediately gives you this sense of permanence, of antiquity.
It signals that we're dealing with maybe the world's oldest living tradition, one that's focused on what are considered, timeless truths.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive. We want to unpack that complexity for you.
Yeah.
How does Sanatana Dharma hold this idea of absolute singular oneness?
Brahman.
Right, the supreme reality. How does it hold that idea while at the same time embracing this incredible, vibrant pluralism of gods, paths, and philosophies? That's the core challenge, and I think the core beauty of the whole system.
Okay, so let's start with the foundational structure, because that's where this radical openness really begins.
It is. The sources are clear that Hinduism is a kind of umbrella.
There's no single founder, no central church or authority, and this is the big one. No single book that everyone have to follow.
And that openness is key. It's why there's so much diversity. When we say Hinduism, we're really talking about a family of traditions. Shaivism, which focuses on Shiva.
Vaishnavism, focused on Vishnu.
Shaktism, the Divine Mother. And Smartism, which kind of integrates 5 major deities.
And the really incredible part for anyone learning about this is the philosophical freedom it allows. The sources say Hindus can be monotheistic, believing in one God.
Or monistic, believing all reality is one.
They can even be agnostic, atheistic, or humanist and still be considered within the fold. It's astonishing.
It's just so accommodating. And it's because the priority is the search for truth, not adherence to one book or one person.
Which, of course, brings up the question you might be asking. If there isn't one single book, how is all this knowledge organized?
Now we get to the scriptures.
I found this part in the sources so helpful, this clean division between the 2 major categories. You really have to get the difference between Shruti and Smriti.
Absolutely foundational. Shruti literally means that which is heard.
So, revealed wisdom.
Yes, these are the most ancient, most authoritative texts, considered to be direct divine revelations heard by ancient sages, the rishis. This is where you find the 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharva Veda, and the early Upanishads.
But the sources also warn that this knowledge is, it's subtle. You can't just pick it up and read it like a novel.
Not at all. Because of its depth, the Shruti texts are ideally approached with the guidance of a guru, a teacher. It's not really a starting point for most people.
So you have Smriti.
Which means that which is remembered. This is a huge body of work, and its whole purpose is to take those high-level, sometimes abstract teachings from Shruti and make them accessible.
This is where the stories come in.
This is where you get the grand, epic narratives that people know and love. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Puranas, they embed deep philosophy into these amazing stories.
And this brings us to one text in particular, the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes. Now, the Gita has a really special status. Technically, it's Smriti. It's a section of the Mahabharata.
But it's treated like Shruti.
It's traditionally given the rank of an Upanishad, really, because it synthesizes all the key philosophies so perfectly. The sources recommend it over and over as the one text to read if you want to understand the core of Hinduism.
It's like the ultimate user's manual for spiritual life, set right on a battlefield.
It is, and that tension, that drama, it leads us right into our central paradox. How do you square absolute oneness with this incredible diversity?
Right. Let's talk about the supreme truth, Brahman.
Brahman is, it's the ultimate reality. It's the non-dual substance of everything. Infinite being, pure consciousness, the source of all creation.
But the sources use 3 different names for it. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Why 3 names for one thing?
That's a great question. because it depends on how you relate to that ultimate reality. It's experienced differently.
Okay,
So Brahman is the impersonal, all-pervading spirit. Think of it like sunlight filling a room. It's everywhere, but it has no form.
I see. And Paramatma.
Paramatma is the localized aspect. It's the super soul, the light that's present within the heart of every single living being.
So the divine within.
Exactly. And then you have Bhagavan. That's the personal aspect of God, the supreme person you can have a relationship with who has qualities who you can love, like Krishna or Rama.
So that framework lets different schools focus on what resonates most. That makes sense.
It does, and it raises the next big question. If that's the ultimate reality, where does my individual self, my soul, the Atman, fit in?
And this is where the different schools of thought, like Vedanta, have completely different answers.
This is where the philosophy really just blossoms. The main debate is whether the individual soul, the Atman, is identical to Brahman, or if it's eternally separate.
Let's start with the first one, Advaita Vedanta, non-dualism.
Advaita argues for a radical, absolute oneness.
So the goal is to realize that my Atman is actually indistinct from Brahman.
Yes, any sense of separation is seen as an illusion, what they call Maya. There's a famous analogy. The relationship is like a single wave to the ocean.
The wave looks separate, but its essence is just ocean.
Exactly. But then you have the schools that argue for permanent separation.
Which seems like the complete opposite.
It is, and that's the pluralism right there in action. Dvaita Vedanta, or dualism, holds that God Bhagavan and the individual souls are separate realities, eternally.
So the goal isn't to merge with the ocean.
No, the goal is to love and serve the master of the ocean. It's a path of devotion.
And I think this helps explain the incredible variety of deities then. The many gods and goddesses, the devas and divas, they aren't a bunch of competing figures.
Not at all. They're seen as different facets, different manifestations, or personal forms of that same supreme one.
It's a really pragmatic and inclusive way to approach it.
Supremely pragmatic. The system encourages you to choose a personal deity, an Ayadavata, that speaks to you without saying that any other path is wrong.
Which is all summed up in that one famous Sanskrit verse, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti.
Truth is one, the wise call it by many names. This is the philosophical bedrock. It's why, historically, Hinduism hasn't sought to convert people through force. It accepts that insisting on only one path is, well, flawed.
So if that's the ultimate reality, what's the ultimate goal for us living in it? That brings us to moksha.
Moksha, liberation, freedom from samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth.
And a key takeaway here is that this isn't some reward you get after you die.
No, and this is so motivating. The texts state that liberation is achievable right here, in this lifetime. It's a psychological and spiritual state of freedom you can attain while you're alive. Ajivamukta.
So life becomes about seeking freedom now. And the Bhagavad Gita lays out these different paths to get there, the 4 yogas, which are tailored for different kinds of people.
Yes, 4 main paths. The first is karma yoga, the path of action.
This is about selfless service, doing your duty, or dharma, without being attached to the results.
That's it. So if you're a doctor, you focus on healing the patient to the best of your ability. Whether you get praise or paid or even thanked, that's irrelevant.
The focus is purely on the action itself.
Yes. This is Krishna's advice to Arjuna. Fight the righteous war because it is your duty. The outcome, the consequences, belong to the divine, not your ego.
That takes incredible discipline. Which leads to the next path, Jnana Yoga.
Jnana yoga is the path of knowledge and intellect. It's for the more philosophical, reflective type.
So this is about study and self-inquiry.
It's about rigorous discrimination, realizing the difference between the temporary body and the eternal spirit, the Atman. The Jnana yogi finds freedom by realizing the truth.
Whereas the Karma Yogi finds it by acting the truth.
A perfect way to put it. Then you have the path of concentration.
Dhyana Yoga.
Or Raja Yoga, I guess.
Mm.
This is the path of disciplined meditation. Using techniques like posture, breath control, and focusing the mind, often on the sacred sound Om, to steady the senses and perceive higher realities directly.
And finally, the path that is maybe most widespread today, Bhakti Yoga.
Ah, Bhakti, the path of devotion. This is for the emotional temperament. It's about a blissful, selfless, all-consuming love of God.
And it's accessible to everyone.
Absolutely everyone. And this is why the historical Bhakti movement was such a revolution. It completely rejuvenated Hinduism.
It democratized the whole process of liberation.
It did. It shifted the focus from complex, expensive Vedic rituals to a direct emotional relationship with the divine. It cut through artificial social barriers like caste, background, gender. Selfless love is something anyone can feel.
So if that's the philosophy, what does it all look like day to day? How is this actually practiced?
Well, on a practical level, there are some common threads. Things like daily worship or puja, meditation or dhyana, selfless service and charity, swayamseva,
Seeking guidance from a guru?
and being in communion with other spiritual seekers, which is called sangha. These are the practical pillars.
And the sources also talk about the 16 sanskaras as a way to structure a person's entire life.
The sanskars are so important. They are family-oriented rites of passage that bring spiritual intention to all the major transitions of life.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure, they start even before birth with Garbhadhana, the rite of conception. They continue with things like Namakarana, the naming ceremony, and Upanayana, the sacred thread ceremony that marks the start of a child's formal education.
And they go all the way through life.
All the way to Vivaha, or marriage, and finally Antyeshti, the funeral rites. They provide this beautiful, continuous spiritual framework from beginning to end.
It's a complete system for a meaningful life. Now let's bring this into a more modern context, because this philosophy has been influencing the West for a very long time.
Oh, for centuries. The ideas from Vedanta in particular had a huge impact on the American transcendentalists. People like John Adams, and especially Henry David Thoreau, they were reading the Bhagavad Gita.
I remember that quote from Thoreau. He said he would bathe his intellect in the stupendous philosophy of the Gita, and it made the literature of his own time seem puny and trivial.
What a statement. It really speaks to the universal power of these ideas. And you can see these concepts pop up all the time in modern movies. This is where it gets really fun for the learner.
Okay, let's take the idea of Sasura, the cycle of reincarnation. The perfect example has to be Groundhog Day.
It's a perfect metaphor. Phil Connors is literally trapped in a time loop, reliving the same day. He only breaks free, he only achieves liberation when he stinks being selfish and learns compassion and selfless service.
His journey out of his own ego is his escape from Sasara.
Exactly. Or what about the idea of Maya, or illusion, and the need for a guru?
The Matrix.
Of course. Neo takes the red pill and wakes up from an illusory world. Morpheus is his guru, guiding him to realize his true nature and his own hidden power. It's an explicit metaphor for transcending Maya.
You even see it in the film Avatar. The very title is a Sanskrit word.
It is. Avatara means descent, referring to an incarnation of God who comes to uphold dharma, or righteousness. And the whole movie is about defending a spiritual culture that sees the interconnectedness of all life.
So what does all this mean for you, the person listening and trying to process all this?
I think it means that Sanatana Dharma is this vast, eternal framework that doesn't just tolerate diversity. It sees diversity as essential to understanding the one single truth. It offers a path for every type of person.
Whether through action, karma, or knowledge, jnana.
Or devotion, bhakti. Or meditation, dhyana. There's a way for everyone to achieve that ultimate goal of liberation.
And that liberation, Moksha, is the goal. It's something reachable in this very lifetime. So if our karma shapes our journey, and the prize is this immediate profound freedom, not just some reward after we die, it leaves us with a question. What present action are you taking today in this life to advance your own spiritual knowledge and achieve that freedom? That's the question the Eternal Way asks of us right now.